This house that you guys are looking at right behind me is listed for sale for $374,000. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,500 square feet, and it's a double flip. Well, what do you mean it's a double flip, Michael? Well, let me tell you. In July of 2020, this house sold for $212,000, okay? And then in March of 2021, it sold once again for $212,000. Looks like they couldn't flip it for a profit, and now the new owner's trying again to flip it for $374,000. So you're telling me that the value of this house has gone up $165,000 in the past 2 years? I doubt it, guys. This is the world we live in right now. And these are the things that we're still seeing. We're still seeing people do this. I just shared with you guys in my last video how Open Door is still trying to flip houses in this environment. And clearly, it's not working. But they're still trying. You can still give them an A for effort. In case you didn't notice, I'm not back in Miami yet, guys. I wanted to do one more video here. And today we're doing one from Palm Coast before we return to Miami. Wanted to just show something a little bit different before I get back home and give you guys an idea of what's going on in other parts of the country and now specifically other parts of Florida. And the reason I want to show stuff like this is because for the average home buyer out there who maybe doesn't have any experience buying a home or hasn't bought anything in a long time, might not think to look for that. They might not think, well, maybe I should just check the sale history on this home and see what's going on. And you know, a lot of people don't think about that. They just look at the house and like, oh, I can afford the payment. I like that it has X, Y, and Z. Let's make an offer, honey. But I don't think that's the appropriate way to approach buying a home. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later in the video. But right now I want to kind of get to the main point of what's going on. And this was the big story of the day, is that Bank of America actually just issued a new warning about the economy. And obviously, as a bank, they keep track of who's spending what, how many people have deposits, and how much deposits on record, and everything like that. And in any given year, they say that Bank of America customers spend about $4 trillion, whether they use their debit card or credit card, writing a check, confirming a bank transfer, or taking out cash in the form of a withdrawal from their ATMs. And from 2021 to 2022, the spending grew by 10%. In the first quarter of 2023, it's been dropping, and it's been dropping down 9%. Now the spending growth has dropped to 4.5%, fast forward to today. And this means that customers are either too nervous to spend the money they have, or they have less in their savings account to spend to begin with in order to sustain their level of spending. And it's probably a little bit of both, if you ask me. Because even if you have a lot of money sitting around, you're not necessarily going to go out and spend it just because you have it, guys. Like, most people that have money have it for a reason, because they're being financially responsible and diligent and understand that now is not the greatest time to be out splurging on everything. Now is the time to be kind of hunkering down for the storm, so to speak. I mean, that's what I'm doing. People have asked me like how much this trip costs and everything like that. And I may make a video about that later on. I'm not sure. It's not really like what I do anymore here on the channel. But rest assured, I can tell you this. I didn't have to go into debt at all to take this trip. And the trip was well planned and budgeted for, because I planned for this trip for 2 years, guys, okay? I didn't go anywhere, didn't take any vacations for 2 years, saved and figured out what things are gonna cost, and made sure had the money available well in advance without worrying about it, you know? And then the whole thing worked out very good, and I didn't have to think about how much money is this gonna cost? How much money is that gonna cost? Or maybe I should have to put this on the credit card in order to be able to do that. Back to what the CEO of Bank of America is saying. He said that the growth levels that we're seeing right now with consumer spending are consistent with what we saw between 2016 and 2019, which was a low growth and low inflation economy, which is clearly not what we're in right now. Supposedly, according to the government, we're in a high growth situation, the GDP is up, and we're also in a high inflationary environment as well. So it's kind of the opposite situation, but yet we're seeing spending patterns as if it's the opposite. And actually, this, funny enough, the same goes for the government. You know, we are in so-called a peacetime. We know the United States is not really in a war, even though there are wars happening and we might have some involvement with them, but we're not directly in any sort of direct conflict. We have this wartime deficit going on with our spending in this country, even though we're supposedly in peacetime. But the Bank of America CEO, he's worried because consumer spending has slowed down literally by half, that this is going to spell disaster for the economy over the next couple of years. And this is how it all begins, guys. Like, a lot of people want to argue that we're not in a recession or nothing has really happened yet, but this is how it all starts, because as consumer spending continues to slow down, the GDP numbers eventually will follow. It's always a lagging indicator, just like the inflation reports. It's something we won't see for maybe another 3 to 6 months, but when it starts showing up, it'll be a light bulb moment for everybody, like, oh, wait a minute. They said we were gonna have a soft landing and there was gonna be no recession. Unfortunately, the more the spending slows down, the more it has a ripple effect throughout the economy. The less people spend, the less money businesses make, and the less businesses make, the more layoffs come down the pipeline, and the more people that lose jobs, the more debt defaults we see in the form of people not paying credit card bills, people not paying auto loans, people not paying mortgages. And as you can see, domino after domino starts to fall in that situation. And that's exactly where we're headed at this very moment. I even heard from some of you guys, somebody said in the comments that LinkedIn is performing layoffs right now, and you have other companies that are, you know, announcing layoffs. I don't even remember which ones. And it's like, every week, guys, every week you hear about somebody deciding to do layoffs. And unfortunately, the lowest income households get affected by this the most because they already have the least available amount of savings to be able to rely on. In fact, many of them probably have no savings at all. They're living paycheck to paycheck, and anytime something goes up in price, it has a tremendous impact on their cost of living. They also talked to Citibank to see what's going on with them, and they're claiming that according to their data, consumer spending is still good, it's still positive, but it's starting to slow down. So they're starting to see cracks form in this economy when it comes to spending. And that's a big deal considering consumer spending is 85% of our GDP. According to this story, they say it's only 70% of our GDP. So I don't know what the real number is, but rest assured, it's a very large chunk of it. And I know one thing you guys are getting tired of hearing, and I am as well, is that the savings rate is down. The pandemic savings are gone. And I agree with a lot of you guys. Like, okay, how much did most people really get? You know, most people got like $2,500, $3,000 in stimulus checks. That was gone in the first couple of months. But you have to understand that that's not all that everybody got. Some people got PPP loans, some people got EIDL loans, some people got the child tax credits that they were giving out in advance. There's a lot of different forms of subsidies that people receive. People received unemployment, you know, extra unemployment on top of the state unemployment. So there's a lot of money that went out during these stimulus programs. And when you combine that with the fact that there were rental moratoriums and mortgage forbearance programs in place where people didn't have to pay those bills for a long time, it allowed people to save a lot more than you think, especially if you were employed. Especially if you had a job at the time and you're making money and you're able to save that money simultaneously and you don't have to pay all of your bills, that's a pretty good setup. And so you might say, oh, well, people just got that $1,400 or $2,800. No, guys, people were able to save a lot more than that who were smart about it and actually were able to sock away probably 10, 15 grand, maybe more in some cases. So that's what we're referring to when we talk about the pandemic savings. So you have to realize the bigger picture. You can't just look at, you know, what went out in the form of stimulus checks. You have to look at how much money people received as a whole. How you doing?
See that patch right here, that street?
Right here?
Yeah.
Yeah?
They raised it. This was 22 years ago. That was the situation we have over here.
Whoa.
See, there was nobody on this side.
Wow. That was 22 years ago?
More than 20 years ago.
Do you have this problem now?
Well, no, not exactly, but we had some water. See, I have to take my shoes over there when I came to my house, because I'm living 24 years in this house.
Yeah?
Yeah, 10 years was unoccupied. No, I don't rent. I had to take my shoes over there and walk because the water was tremendous.
Wow, that is a lot of water.
Yeah,
And that's just after a rainstorm? Nothing crazy, just a regular Florida storm, huh?
Yeah, it was not compared with this. Then what they did was they put a pipe over here. Of course, there was no pipe over here. And they raised this corner. But look like now it's going down again.
That's good. Hopefully it's working.
One of the councilmen was Ralph Carter. He came in town. He looked and said, "Mr. Garcia." My name is Armando Garcia, by the way.
My name's Michael. Nice to meet you, Armando.
I have my nephew, Michael Silva. He's in aviation school over here in Daytona.
Nice.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Likewise. I'm shooting a YouTube video in your neighborhood talking about real estate.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah?
Yeah, this is one of the best, believe it or not, because I live here, but...
You like this area?
This area is so quiet.
Good.
Yeah, we have good neighbors. Well, you see the construction going on?
Yeah.
You know, the apartment houses?
Yep.
They just have the okay to start breaking down in right over here by Indian Trails. 300 something apartment houses. Where the tornado was?
There was a tornado?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't live here. I'm from Miami.
Miami?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to get back to the video, Armando. It's a pleasure to meet you. You have a nice day, sir.
You too.
Okay, take care. Wow, how about that flooding, huh? It definitely can get kind of crazy here, but apparently Armando said that they fixed it. That's a good sign. That was one thing I was concerned about at some of these neighborhoods I've been through, at least up in St. Augustine. I saw a bunch of standing water, you know, and I called one of the real estate agents to look at this house, and I was like, hey, how come there's all this standing water in the front? It hasn't rained in a couple of days. You know, oh, that was from like last week. Like, what? The water's still standing here from a week ago? That's worse than Miami. I mean, we get floods like that too whenever you get a lot of rain, but you know, within a day or two, it's all gone. You know, that's it. You don't see standing water sitting around for more than a week, so that's not a good sign. But really, I just want a lot of people who watch my channel to be prepared for what's coming down the line with the recession, guys, and with the housing market. And I feel like the more people that are prepared, the better. And that's always the message I'm trying to put out there. I know a lot of people don't agree with what I say, or they think I'm just trying to do this or do that, but really at this point, after how long I've been doing this now, for those of you who don't know, I've been on YouTube now for 4 years, and I feel a connection to you guys just like you probably feel a connection to me when you watch my channel all the time. And I feel like it's my duty now at this point to report to you everything that I can see happening as an insider, somebody that had worked in real estate for many years and can understand and maybe see these trends ahead of time before the average person can. And I like sharing that with people. And I've seen a countless number of emails and messages that I've gotten from you guys that are saying that, hey, thanks to Michael's videos, you know, I saved this much buying a house, or I decided not to buy and I got a much better deal on a renting, or whatever it is. However, I was able to help you, and that really makes me feel good, guys. But what doesn't make me feel good is right now, the average US household needs to earn about $115,000 a year to pay for the median price home. And that's just insanity, especially when we saw in that survey the other day that the average person needs to make $75,000 a year to feel financially stable and feel good about where their life is going financially. Well, a lot of people don't make that. That's the average household income. And so this is a whole $40,000 more per year that the average household would need to earn in order to be able to buy homes at today's prices that most houses don't earn. And that's why you're starting to see the real estate market go down the drain. That's why you're starting to see the mortgage applications and the home sales drop to the lowest level that we've seen in 30 years, guys. It's really that simple. And I showed you guys a chart the other day about how the foreign investors have also left. Okay, there are still some transactions going on related to foreign investors, but nowhere near on the scale that it used to be. And this is how I think you can safely say that a lot of people that have the cash to buy are now sitting on the sidelines waiting it out because they know that things are turning around as we speak. I'm not telling everybody who watches my channel to just do the same and sit around and wait on the sidelines forever, because I've read many of your comments where you say, well, we can't wait forever, Michael. We have to, get on with our lives. We want to have a baby. We want to do this and that. That's fine, guys. I'm never, ever telling you not to do that, okay? Just so you know. But what I am doing, I'm laying it out on the table, making sure you realize the risks that are involved with jumping into the situation right now. That's all. In fact, I saw something really funny. I had to screenshot this comment because it just made me laugh, because on my video from the other day about stop stressing over buying a home, Mitch put this comment in there that was super funny. He says, well, getting a house is more stressful than getting a date, because as a man, not many women are going out with a dude still living with his parents. So, yeah, good point there, Mitch. But then again, you could also just jump into a cheap rental and have your own place. You don't need to be, a big shot homeowner in order to get a date. You can just have your own cheap rental and get dates like that. But anyhow, getting back to this affordability debacle, this is a big deal, because literally, in order to buy the median price home today, you need to have 15% more income than just 1 year ago. Well, last time I checked, the wage growth was only about 5.5% year over year. Last time we talked about it here on the channel. So incomes are not keeping up anywhere near what needs to be in order to keep this housing market sustained. However, one set of advice that I heard from, the Realtor Association that's referring to first-time home buyers right now is they said, particularly first-time home buyers who want to get into a house now should think outside the box. Consider a condo or townhouse, which is less expensive than a single-family home, or consider moving to a more affordable part of the country or a more affordable suburb of where you live. And I actually agree with that sentiment, guys. If you are somebody who feels stuck and you feel like you can't afford where you live right now, look around. Look outside of your immediate area. Maybe you're going to have to commute to work for 40 minutes in order to find something affordable. Maybe you're not going to be able to buy a house like this. Maybe you're going to have that one-bedroom condo for a few years in order to become a homeowner. It all depends on your priorities and how bad you want to own your own place and not pay rent, I guess. And like I've said before, that's up to everybody individually. Some people give me grief about, oh, Michael's sitting here telling people not to buy houses or the housing market's going to crash. And in the meantime, he bought his place last year and capitalizing on this. Like, listen, guys, first of all, there's no way I could have known that prices were going to go up as much as they did during this time. And number two, I bought because it was cheaper than renting something similar. It was that simple. It was a very economical and level-headed decision, because a lot of that had to do with affordability, guys. In fact, look at the stats for Miami. I just told you guys that the median household income needs to be $115,000 for people to be able to afford homes at today's prices. Well, in Miami, it's $143,000, okay? And that's up, guess what? 33% just in 1 year. So the amount of money you need to make today is 33% higher than it was a year ago. And so I didn't want to be the guy paying $4,000 or $5,000 a month in rent when I could just own my own place for that price. And yeah, that's a lot of money to pay each month, but it's better to pay it and own your own place than it is to waste it on rent, okay? So it's a very simple thing that most people can figure it out and would also make the same decision. And I've also encouraged many of you who watch my channel to always run the numbers. If you come across a situation where your rent is actually higher than it would cost to buy, even in today's environment, then it might make sense to still buy even today. Now, doesn't mean it's going to be a good decision in the future in terms of, where your future home value might go, but just from a dollars and cents and monthly payment point of view, maybe it makes sense for you, but only you can decide that. But I will warn you that literally in 95% of all US metros right now, it is cheaper to rent than it is to buy. So the odds of that being true for you are probably pretty low. But almost 2 years ago, that wasn't the case. I told you in my last video that my wife and I were looking around this area, and I came to Palm Coast 2 years ago, and I really didn't like it at all because you kind of have to drive a lot to different places. But after coming here again and being 2 years older, my priorities have changed. I kind of like it here now. I like how quiet it is. You know, the homes are more abundant and more available and more affordable than St. Augustine, and it's still not far from the beach. I would consider moving here as well. And there's a lot of houses for sale here right now. And I forgot to pull up the stats on this, but remember that it is down year over year right now, at least 4 or 5%. I'll flash it up on the screen. And things are starting to fall here. Just like we saw this house earlier, you know, somebody paid $216,000 for that house just 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever, and now they think it's worth almost 400 grand. It's the same house, guys. Not much has really changed with the house, but people want that much money. I have no problem sitting on the sidelines waiting for the values of these homes to come back down. Maybe the real value of that house is probably somewhere around $265,000 today. I would pay that for that house, but I'm not gonna pay you 375 grand. And so that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking around these neighborhoods. I'm looking, what do you get for the money around here compared to Miami? Obviously, it's quite a bit cheaper, as you guys can see. And I would consider moving here when the time is right. But also, after being up here for a couple of days, it also makes me have a second realization that the value here in the northern part of Florida is not what it used to be. Like when I first visited this area back in 2018 or 2019, whatever it was, that's when the home prices were still, you know, in the mid $200,000 and you could buy one of these houses and it was beautiful. Now those days are over. When you're looking at houses that are in the same condition that they were in 4 years ago, they're asking double the price, the value is not there anymore if you ask me. That's my personal opinion as somebody that's been familiar with this area for years now. I think what it does is it actually makes a lot of these other states that people are moving to look a lot more attractive, like Alabama and Georgia and the Carolinas and Arkansas and these different states where the cost of living is far lower than Florida, as well as the home prices, which also lowers your yearly property tax bill. So there's a lot of advantages for people that, you know, if you're somebody that just stays in your house all day and you don't utilize going to the beach or, you know, doing some of these outdoor Florida activities that are specific to here, I would encourage people to look in those spots because I think you get way more bang for your buck than where you get like somewhere like here today. And also, it makes me realize that how good I actually have it in Miami, guys. Like I complain about the traffic, it is too hot. Like I guarantee you it's probably a good 10, 15 degrees hotter there today than it is here. And I'm not gonna like that when I go back home. But I have a place that I bought for pre-pandemic prices, so that's a huge plus, right? I didn't have to pay, you know, today's prices, which would be far more. And I don't like living in the condo slash HOA situation, but at least I paid a fair price for my property. And I'm close by a bunch of amenities. I live right on the beach, which is something that I love. I love the beach, and it helps you be more grateful for things when you see what you can get for the money in other places, and you don't really see the value there anymore like it used to be. I mean, when you look at the amount of money that people need to make now in different areas of Florida in order to be able to afford the average home, it is crazy. Like in Fort Lauderdale, you need to make $115,000 a year. Okay, Northport, which is like a retirement area, you need to earn $123,000 a year. Orlando, $108,000 a year. Tampa, $103,000 a year. West Palm Beach, $125,000 a year. So it is just stunning the amount of money that you need to earn to live in these very average places in Florida. I've been to all these places, guys, and they're not all that, okay? I promise you, they're not. But so many people moved in here, so many people pushed up these prices, and now it's starting to reverse. We're starting to see it happen in slow motion here and in many other areas, especially in Southwest Florida too. Tons of new inventories coming on the market, and it's not moving. And that's what you're gonna start seeing everywhere eventually. So this video went in an entirely different direction than I had planned for, but I'll get to some of the other stories that I wanted to share with you guys in another video. So this time's for real. I will see you back in Miami in my next video. And if you enjoyed this one, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you don't want to wait for my next one to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.